throwing the BG in 5, 4, 3.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Hey, welcome to the BG Show. It's your boy, BG, back with another episode. And today we have a lot to talk about, including the fact that the Canadian trucker Freedom Convoy, which has seen thousands of people turn out in support. It's crazy. Actually, I want to say tens of thousands. Then we're also asking the important question, why do people feel the need to become successful before the age of 30? Where did all the pressure come from? And we also interview the man, the legend, the man himself, Dwight Drummond, news anchor for CBC Toronto News at 6, my mentor. I cannot wait to get into all of that. But before we do, we have to do a few things. Like what?
Subscribe to our channel. Follow us on all of our socials. The details are in the description below.
Tap the notification.
I'm not on screen very often.
And drop a like. Drop a like in the comment.
And drop a like, exactly.
You drop a like in the comment?
No, and a comment.
And the comment.
No. Okay.
And this is why we stick to script. All right, so let's get into it.
I thought we were live to tape.
So last weekend, a trucker convoy started making their way across Canada. Literally started in BC, making its way all the way to the nation's capital, protesting mandatory COVID-19 vaccination and lockdown mandates. And let me tell you, the energy these protesters came with was hectic. Have you ever seen this type of energy before?
Yeah, I think BLM was a way bigger.
Agree.
I've seen bigger energy.
You think BLM had more energy than what we're seeing right now?
I think it's a different kind of energy.
Okay, I'm gonna hold my perspective for a hot second because we also took this question to the streets and people had some interesting things to say. Roll the clips. What are your thoughts on the Freedom Convoy?
I don't know. I think it's better to be safe than sorry. So I don't think we should allow them in.
I don't know. I have conflicting thoughts.
Okay, that's fair. What are those conflicting thoughts?
I'm Ukrainian, so right now I'm worried about what's happening in Ukraine.
So you're probably like, where's all this energy for about this situation?
Right. Because people don't worry about it because they think it's too far away.
Or it doesn't affect them personally.
Right.
Have you ever seen this amount of passion?
No, I've never seen something form so quickly.
Yeah?
More power to them.
Ooh, you're about that life.
You betcha.
Well, tell me why.
Look at every freedom we've ever fought for in this entire Canada has been eroded to the nth degree. I just thought that, I was in this wonderful country that I think we've lost at the moment.
Whose fault do you think that is?
Our own. We've accepted it.
Vaccines or no vaccines?
I think that's none of anybody's business.
Nobody should ever ask you that question.
No one should ever ask. And I should have the right to choose, just like you should.
I really want to know what freedoms are being taken away because in a lockdown, gym is a privilege, restaurants are a privilege. That's not a freedom, in my opinion.
Freedom of movement, right?
Yeah, and I get freedom of choice and being able to make a choice for your body. That makes sense to me. But lockdown mandates are based on everybody lost that. I can't go to the gym. I'm vaxxed.
I hear what you're saying. I think when I look at this situation, I believe everybody has the right to protest. And I think it's great that people are exercising that right. But I think what I'm just trying to figure out is I don't know if I've seen the type of energy where from coast to coast, people are literally lining up waiting for this convoy of truckers. And it's not just truckers who are rolling down Highway 16 and the Trans-Canada Highway. These are people who are also coming from Saskatoon, Regina, Winnipeg. They're all joining in. Brandon, Manitoba. There has also been a lot of things that have happened in this country this year and in previous years that people have been crying out for Canadian support. I think about clean drinking water on First Nation reserves.
What about the pipeline?
The Wet'suwet'en, for example, when they're fighting for their freedoms and their rights to not have pipelines built on their territory, and they're asking for Canadians to join with them in support. I don't see Canadians traveling along the highway, heading to Ottawa to go protest on Parliament Hill, begging politicians to say, stop this, stop this, stop this. Do you see it?
This might be the biggest protest against restrictions. But my guy, BLM was worldwide.
No, I agree with that.
That is by far the biggest.
I agree with that, but I also feel like the BLM protest that happened in Canada, there was so much opposition to it. Do you know how long it took for even politicians to recognize the fact that it's okay to say Black Lives Matter? There was literally a police officer who risked her job voicing her support for this convoy in Durham Regional Police. Take a look at this clip.
I really wanted to give a shout out to all the truckers. I think what you guys are doing is incredible. You're fighting for our rights and freedoms. And right now it feels like we're a little bit at war, and those rights and freedoms are at stake. So you guys are honestly true heroes. What you're doing is just incredible.
Like, I see what you're saying, because it's like this amount of turnout for a situation that's particular to Canada and the United States, but what about clean drinking water particular to Canada and the United States? What about murdered and missing Indigenous women, hundreds of which go missing every year? Why aren't we talking about this? This is a problem right here at home that affects the entire country.
And I'm not saying it's wrong to protest. Like, if this is what you feel is your passion, great. But there's also a lot of things out there that people should be protesting for.
For sure.
So
Yeah,
all I'm saying is that
100%.
if you have this energy, keep this energy for so many other
things,
for
yeah.
equality. Like, if you're talking about you're standing up for freedoms and you're standing up for people's rights because they're being taken away, well, we should have a right to clean drinking water.
Especially with, and I like that one in particular where we're talking about the clean drinking water. This isn't a new problem. The convoy has picked up so much energy when it's not really like, this is a new problem. It's come up in the last couple of years where we're talking boil water advisories
But even the
for
rhetoric
40
with
years.
even the rhetoric with politicians, like you look at, and I'm going to specifically like target here conservative politicians. Like, there are a lot who are like riding the fence. With conservative politicians, they're in there and they're like literally riding the horse and they're waving the flag in support of what's happening because they feel like there's a political advantage for this.
100%,
But when the Wet'suwet'en are there on the front lines trying to not have this pipeline built,
It's called 911. Get them arrested.
it's,
Move.
right?
Yeah.
Like there's not the same support, and
Yeah.
literally
Well, and
both
there's
groups, when you look at it,
also-
are fighting for their freedoms,
Yeah.
their rights.
Yeah.
It's got to be the same energy on both sides. I completely agree with that point. If you're fighting for freedoms, it's got to be freedoms for everyone across the board, whatever those freedoms are.
I love that point. I love the passion. I want you guys to get passionate in the comment section. Let us know how you feel about this. Do people need to keep the same passion, same energy? We want to know. Okay, let's switch things up a little bit. Speaking about energy, I feel like there are a lot of people, and we were talking about this early in the week, especially people in their 20s, who feel like there is a lot of pressure to make it in their 20s. Like, you have to make it before you hit 30. Like, there's this expectation on you. Like, have you guys felt that? I'm not gonna call out your ages.
Yeah, I'll speak as a more mature person sitting at the table.
Devin, see how he's calling you out like that? Because I know he's not talking to me.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a crazy pressure to get it all in your 20s. But I personally think 20s is where you figure it all out.
I agree.
And you prep for 30s, because that's when you're in your full stride, you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean, and that's exactly what Michelle Obama has said, like, over recent years, to let people know, like, your 20s are to find yourself, or to put in, is the time to put in the hard work. Just listen to what you have to say.
As I've always said, the process of becoming isn't finite. It doesn't have an end. It's not like you wake up one day and you are who you were intended to be, and that is that. It is a process. It is an ever-evolving process. You never stop becoming. You never stop growing. You're always changing.
You see, I respect what Michelle Obama had to say, because honestly, like, you never want to peak too early. Like, I say this all the time, like, you want to hit your peak just at the right time. Dev, we were talking about this, right?
Yeah,
Let's
for
talk
sure.
about some people. Lindsay Lohan. We talked about Lindsay Lohan.
Of course, and like Macaulay Culkin's another good one.
From Home Alone.
From Home Alone.
And our young guy, a little lad from That's So Raven.
Yes,
Raven's
Kyle
little brother.
Massey. Kyle Massey.
Little
All
lad.
these people literally had some issues. Like, they popped off early in life, which was great. They probably thought
But
they
we're
were
talking so young. We're talking like 10, 11, 12 years old. Like, you're a child, like a baby. You're a
right.
baby,
And they got this success so early. Like,
and you're in Hollywood with lots and lots of money.
But you know what, there's probably people at our high schools that peaked so young too.
I had a friend who was a student athlete, was on his way to play for TFC, got injured, couldn't play soccer ever again, right?
Oh.
Early 20s. His entire life was about soccer, was about sport, and and with the potential was like amazing. And there are so many athletes who go through this. People keep forgetting, like, 20s are not the year to make it. It's not the decade to make it.
When you're in your
Decade to make mistakes.
It's
Yeah.
exactly. It's a
Live
decade
and
to make
learn.
mistakes and learn. Like, think about the people who made it later on in like their 40s.
Morgan Freeman. Even
Morgan Freeman.
older than 40.
Viola
King.
Davis.
Viola Davis. Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel
Jay-Z.
L. Jackson. Like, these people didn't hit the pinnacle of their career until they were in their 40s or their 50s.
Oprah even, like, she peaked younger, but
Exactly.
she wasn't young. She wasn't 21. Like,
No.
she was older.
Like, the height of the Oprah show
Yeah.
was like literally in her 30s.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, like, where do you feel like the pressure comes from? Like, were you talking to people on the
Society.
streets and people said society, they said their parents, some of them even said their friends. Take a
But
listen.
if it's,
feel like-
oh, sorry, I thought he was asking us, and then look at him, he's talking about the streeters.
Do you feel like there's a pressure to make it in your 20s?
Yeah, I do. I think when you hit your 20s, people expect a certain amount of maturity, a certain amount of things that will come out of you and what you're gonna do.
Like, what type of pressure are you feeling?
Just a lot of pressure to just do something good with my life, I guess.
Who do you feel like the pressure comes from? Is it like parents, or is it like friends, or society?
Just like societal, I think.
It's hard to like figure out like what job you want to do and like what courses I want to take in university to get a good job, and then it kind of like plans out your whole life. I don't know where to start.
If people ride the wave and wait too long, believe me, you won't have the energy for it later. In the back of your mind, you should always be thinking about your future.
Right.
And that's not to stress people out.
Yeah.
That's to make sane and logical steps towards their future.
Okay. Why do you feel you need to, why is there pressure in society to make it during your 20s? Like, where does that pressure come from? Let us know in the comment section and sound off. In the meantime, we're gonna sound off, like we're gonna turn your guys' sound off. And we're gonna introduce our guest for this week. He's the one, he's the only, one of the most amazing, legendary reporters Toronto, Canada has ever seen. Dwight Drummond, news anchor for CBC Toronto News at 6 p.m. We discussed everything from his amazing career to journalism to growing up in Jane and Finch. Let me tell you, it was juicy.
It's weird being on the other side of this, man. I do this all day. It's weird being the interviewee instead of the interviewer.
Isn't it crazy?
It's so weird.
It feels different.
It does.
Are you nervous?
I don't know what you're gonna ask me, man. I work at the CBC. We're in trouble all the time. So I'm like, what is this man gonna ask me? But it's all good, bro. It's all good.
Listen,
I'm prepared.
This has been a long time coming.
It has been, man. Since Anne-Marie Medaway came, he said, I'm working with this really cool young guy, Dwight. He said he used to watch you when he was a kid. I'm like, stop making me feel old. And there it was Brandon, but she was such a big fan of yours that when I finally met you, somebody already vouched for you, so you're already good.
So take me back to those early days, because you have some stories.
I have too many stories and people tell
you
me,
paved the path.
You just need to write a book about it. But I mean, for me, the media thing really started in public school, man. When I first got to Canada, I didn't really understand the concept. You know, a lot of people at that time, the immigration, especially from Jamaica or the West Indies in general, a lot of Filipino families are going through that now, where you have this fractured family, where the mom comes ahead, kind of builds a life, and then she brings the kids up.
That was like my grandma too.
And that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
So when I first came up, I really didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
I was living in St. Elizabeth in this bucolic setting of rolling green hills near the Appleton Estate. If I was hungry, I go eat a mango, man, pick a tangerine.
Just pick it from the tree.
And it was just, and then they dropped me in this concrete jungle in Canada. And I'm like, why am I here?
And it's cold.
I don't understand. The trees have no fruits. What is this place, right? So I started getting in trouble. I went to Fairgrove, like hard at Jane and Finch, Fairgrove Public School. And the principal one day said to me, you know, Dwight, you're here in the office every day anyway. Why don't you help me do the announcements? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was still convinced that I was going to be the next Michael Jordan, and I wasn't thinking seriously about it as a career at the time. But I had enough interest because I was interested in the world around me. I was interested in the news. I used to watch Ed Bradley on 60 Minutes and want to be like him and stuff like that. So the interest was there, and then when I finally figured out that I wasn't going to be the next Michael Jordan, I really started to focus on trying to get into RTA at
So you were a baller when you were younger?
I went to Runnymede to play ball and ended up getting an education, man. I ended up quitting in my last year and just hitting my books. Because it was like, I'm looking at guys that were better than me, and I'm like, yo, you guys aren't making a living playing no basketball. You know, basketball was good for me because it kept me out of trouble. Yeah. My mom knew where to find me. Yeah. She'd get off the bus, look at the court, okay, he's over there, you're okay, right? So it was positive in that way, but in grade 11, I was like, yo, let me hit these books. Because I really felt that I could go get into university, and my teachers were telling me that, so I said, okay, maybe education is the route because I'm not gonna be a millionaire basketball player. Went to RTA, and I was lucky enough that while I was still there, I got my foot in the door at City TV. And at the time, Brandon, the job was a security job. Yeah. It was on the security staff.
People don't know that.
But I'm like, I'm in the building.
Yeah.
I had resumes in my pocket, and I went to get into the newsroom.
So you knew as soon as you got that first gig in that building.
I figured that's where I wanted to be, because at the time when I was in high school, that was the cool station.
Yeah.
They were on all the bus shelters with these cool pictures of all these guys, and some of those guys looked like me.
Yeah.
They had a black cameraman, Tom Atatui, that was on these bus shelters by my school. So I felt, and they used to cover our high school basketball.
You know what's crazy? I worked with his son
at
CP24, who's also a camera
Love
guy there.
those guys.
Tall,
Love
I'm
those
like,
guys.
that guy should be playing ball.
Exactly. Yeah. Great guys. Great guys. That's
And then
what
his
teams
mom was Marilyn Dennis's stage.
So I got a story about Marilyn Dennis. She asked
Floor
about
director, excuse me.
She was a floor director on Marilyn Dennis, Kathy.
Yeah.
And they
love Kathy.
they claimed they're responsible for my marriage because, dude, I was a cameraman on that show.
I heard this story.
And my wife used to do fashion. She still does Fashion Fridays on the Marilyn Dennis show now. And I was behind it like, hey, how you doing? Try to challenge. Not even noticing me, man. And every Friday, me and the other camera guys, they'd bring in these 5 models, and we were just like, hi. They'd be like, yeah, whatever, you cameraman, leave us alone.
Yeah.
And eventually, you know, I ended up marrying this lady that we found out later she was from my neighborhood, another Jaden Fincher.
Wow.
She had run off to, you know, Paris and London, Paris and Italy to go work. So I kind of missed her when she was in high school there. But yeah, I actually met my wife on that show, man.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a small, small world.
So you're working cameras.
Yes, I'm a camera guy. I'm on the crew.
Yeah.
And the issue for me was I'm not an early morning guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've turned on a lot of early morning hosting gigs in my career because it's just too. I'm not.
It's hard.
I'd rather party all night and just until the sun up than wake up early and go somewhere. This is how bad it was. When I used to work a show called Breakfast Television, which was show as a camera guy. And back in the day, we'd be coming home from the clubs as the people that worked on Breakfast Television would be coming from work, and we'd park in the parking lot on Queen Street.
Listen, I know those. I know that life.
The only reason I think I left the production world and went on air was because I just couldn't take the shift work.
Yeah.
And
it was all over the place.
It was all over the place. We had 3 different shifts, day, night, and then I got a job as an assignment editor.
Yeah.
I was talking to the assignment editor, and I used to shoot his little segment on the news. I'm like, yo, I could do that. And the job came up. He's like, why don't you come apply? And I got into assignment. Then I did teleprompter operator in the newsroom. I did floor director. I did writer. I did videographer. I did pretty much.
You paid your dues too.
Every single job you can.
You just
think
did it in
about.
the biggest market.
I just did it, yeah. But I got on air in the biggest market. But
Yeah.
I worked my way up behind the scenes for a good 4, 5, 6 years.
Which
before
is
I got the first
important.
one. It is because it gives you that grounding, you know. Like I feel like. Since I know all the jobs, like I understand what people do, and I respect it because I know it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And just because I'm the guy in front of the camera, the people behind the camera are the ones who make me. They're the ones who made me look good. Dude, if they don't like you, you and I both know.
Listen, when your lighting is off.
Thank you. Sometimes I see some shoots and I'm like, yo, that camera person does not like you because you do not look good. And I was able to work my way up, and I finally was able to get on air, and I've never looked back. And I look now and I look at the young people and I worry about the opportunities for them. That's the big thing when I look. I'm like, they don't have the same amount of opportunities I did because of the industry just shrinking. I mean, it's expanded online. But it's also shrunk in the traditional sense that there's a lot of jobs out there. What do you think when you hear Jane and Finch? Most people think of gangs, crime, and violence. It's a reputation residents say does not truly reflect life in the neighborhood. And some people from Jane and Finch are trying to combat the bad rap.
I wear my earrings on air.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why I wear my earrings on air is because when you were on air,
I
you would
had my
wear your earring on air.
I gotta give you a story about that.
That guy is not cool.
So Ed Bradley wore the earring.
Yeah.
So, but I did go to Moses Neimer when I was starting on air, and I said, you know, Moses, what? Like, should I lose the earring? Because I've had friends at other stations who people were trying to tell them to look a certain way, and it wasn't real to them, right?
And we should add Moses, by the way, it was like the head guy.
Moses is the one who had this idea to have this station, and the thing what Moses said was, look, back in the day, folks, you used to have to actually turn the dial on the TV. There was no remote control, right? So you had to hit every station before you got it. So Moses put a station on number 7. And the big station was 6 and 8. And he said, listen, when you're flipping around, if you see somebody that looks like you on that screen, you might stop and watch that channel.
So true.
And his thing was nobody looked like that on TV. So he made a whole station that actually looked like the city. And he said to me, dude, do you wear your earring in real life? I said, yeah. He goes, why would you take it off on TV? Moses is like, no, you're going to be going into those neighborhoods covering these stories. Somebody that understands these people, right? It's better to cover that story than some guy that's never been in any of these places. And you know as a reporter, when you go to some of those stories, dude, they follow behind you. They're not going to go deep into the hood unless you go first.
Right?
Like I get to a scene, it's like, why are y'all waiting? He goes, well, we were going to wait for you to go
Right?
in.
They want to make sure everything is good because you're the only black person there.
So yeah, you know, and sometimes I'm a story, and I was sitting there one day and I was on a story, and like the 3 male reporters with me all went to Upper Canada College.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, yeah, this playing field is not level, but he tried to level in the sense he made a station. He put JoJo on with an accent.
Yeah. When you transitioned to being a reporter, like you uncovered some really like instrumental stories to like allowing people to open their eyes to what's
yeah.
going on
In the city.
And in the city. I mean, on the crime beat, like
The crime beat was rough because I was still, Brandon, I was still close to it, right? Like
Yeah.
I still went back up to Finch to play ball with my friends.
Yeah.
I still hang out with the same guys I grew up with, basically. There was a court case I covered where they, at the beginning of the court case, and you know this because you reported on them, they'll read out the information on the accused.
Yeah.
And they're reading out the information on this young man, and they read out my building and my apartment number. So for a split second, I was like pinching myself. I'm like, am I in the twilight zone? Am I the one in the prisoner's box? Is this job all a dream? Am I the reporter? What? They read out 10 Turf Grassway, apartment 204. And it was a murder that I covered a lot. It was the death of a little girl. And for that second, man, that's what it really just, like, whoa, this kid that's been accused of this heinous crime grew up in the exact same apartment I did.
People don't understand, like, the crime beat is a tough beat. You're dealing with families who are dealing with the toughest times of their lives.
It was hard. It was really hard.
But then you're also taking on the police service.
The police service. And
which is one of the strongest units.
I don't know how much people that watch your show know my background story, but, you know, I was taken down at gunpoint. I think the reason it happened to me is because we drove by the officers and we looked over at them. And I don't know if they took offense to that, but the next thing I know, me and my friend, dude, surrounded, Glocks at our heads, out of the car, face on the ground, handcuffed on the streetcar tracks. It was one of the scariest. Walking back to that many guns pointed at me was one of the scariest things that ever happened to me.
And this, as you are literally
I'm on TV.
On TV.
Yeah, and you know what happened when they started
that
treating me nice?
Knows.
You know when they started treating me nice? When they pulled out, while they were going through my stuff. Back then, you had to go to police headquarters and get an access card to hang around crime scenes. It was actually something that they issued, and I heard the gas. I'm like, oh, and then I heard the talking, and they're like, oh shoot, you know, like all of a sudden I was a human being. Yeah, that takedown affected me very negatively in the sense that it kind of stopped my career a little bit because they hated me for a long time. Because I would call a station, just like you would in your career, to get information. They hear my name, just like click. They don't even talk to me. During the trial, because they end up getting charged. People think I sued them, but I didn't sue them. They got charged by their own police service. We're at the court. Yeah. I'm in the washroom. What they did every day was they filled the courtroom with uniformed officers just staring me down.
Intimidation tactic.
Mean bugging me the whole time, just like. I went to the washroom at one point, they followed me and surrounded me at the urinal. Why are you doing this? You better stop this. Like threatening me at the freaking urinal, guys. Driving home one day, run me off the road right by the Jane and Finch Mall, stopped their Jeep, put on their police baseball caps and looked at me like we can get, dude, I'm like, this stuff really happens in this town, man? You know what, I stood strong, I pay my taxes, I had every right to file that complaint. Yeah. They got off because they said they had a witness that pointed out my car. It wasn't their fault, it was her fault. They don't know what she looked like, they couldn't find her, but this phantom witness let them get away with it, you know, in the end, but I left with my life. Yeah. And a lot of people that look like me in those situations don't leave with their lives.
You know what's crazy, Dwight? We always hear the saying, it's just a few bad apples, just a few bad apples. And I always used to say, why does everybody ever call them out for finishing the full sentence? It's a few bad apples spoil the entire batch.
And you guys won't get rid of them. I always say the officers, I know cops that have been on the service for 30 years with like 3 complaints. If you got a guy that's been on for 3 years and he has 30 complaints, you have a problem. Yeah. You cannot trust that person to go out into the public and interact with the rest of us.
What is it like to walk around these streets as Dwight Drummond?
Okay, let me give you the joke though. This is how. And
because that must feel good.
No, you must know this as a black man on TV, right? I'm glad you asked this question because I have been called the name of every black man on TV. I am at a hockey tournament. We're volunteering. There was a cancer fundraiser, a street hockey tournament. And this elder Italian lady comes up to me, so happy to see me. And she's like, Brandon! And I'm like, where's Gonez? Is he here? And then look, as she comes, she holding my hand, telling me how much she loved me. And I'm like, well, I usually get this for Dwight, but you know what? I'm just going to take it. I'm not even going to correct you. I said, thank you, miss. Yes. Brandon goes, yes, man, I took it, buddy. I took all the love they were giving you.
That is the biggest compliment. I'm kind of blushing right now.
They were giving it. I took all the love she was trying to give you, buddy. Holding my hand, eh? Hugging up my hand, eh?
Wow. You feel proud, though? You feel proud?
I'm happy with the career.
Yeah.
I'm happy for the support because people say black people don't support each other. Brandon, I got a lot of criticism in the early, but I got a lot of support from my community. I really did. And now I'm 30 years in, man, looking for retirement, waiting for you guys to come take over so I can go relax and eat some mango again, guy.
Same Dwight's ready to
Let's go. Let's go, man.
What's one thing people don't know about you?
That I'm more of a curry goat than an oxtail guy.
Oh my God, thank you. Sorry,
I know.
No. Interview dad. Are you serious?
And some days.
I honestly, I'm tired of goat. I can't eat it no more.
I like my kind. I like my Manish water, man. On a Saturday, man, you find me on the strip picking that up. Man. I think people don't know, like, I'm on the road all the time in the spot still. I still move around this town like I did even before. You know, I was on TV. I still frequent the same spots. I still hang with the same man.
Any advice you want to leave for, like, whether it's younger people or maybe even older people, but like younger people especially, who, you know, because there's so many people who look up to you.
It's so competitive for young people now, right? The job market is so competitive. Before you could just get away with your degree, now you need a master's, you need like, it's so competitive, but whatever you choose to do, man, study your craft.
Dwight, thank you for coming on the show.
Yo, thank you for asking me. You know, I'm a fan, buddy. From you hit those screens, I was happy to see you there, and you do a great job, and I wish you all the best with this venture. Because you know what? Traditional media is changing, right? And startups like this, they're the future, man. So what you're doing now is going to pave the way for somebody else, brother.
Amen to
that. It really
that.
is.
Amen to that. If you want to continue watching Dwight, go watch him. CBC News, Toronto at 6 o'clock. Literally the best anchor in the game. Okay, before we go, we brought back Doing Too Much, and we wanted to talk about this moment because one mother from Michigan, listen to this, she's gone viral for all the wrong reasons. Basically, she was giving a speech, okay, at the school board meeting, defending her son, who's white, who said the N-word, okay, and got expelled or suspended for it. Just watch this clip.
He went hunting, came back, completely followed by the black boys. I have the Snapchats. My address was put out there. We were threatened, and why? Because he said.
All I'm saying is she needs to look deep within, do some self-reflection on why you feel so casual and comfortable saying this word in the first place.
It feel like it came out too easy.
Not only did it come out too easy, it was like, honestly, I expect when a white person says the N-word, I expect them to like stop and be like, between you and Auntie Deb, you should be embarrassed of yourself and your son. Because you are doing too much.
Give it a bit more.
You're doing too much.
A bit more.
You're doing too much, okay? You're doing too much. You and your son are doing too much.
Not the kiss teeth. All right. We'll take it. We'll take it. On that note, we're going to wrap things up. Listen, we talked about a lot, so we want to hear all of your feelings about all the topics we talked about and all the love that you have for Dwight. Drop those in the comment section right now. And on that note, just a reminder, we need you to what? Subscribe to this channel, tap that notification bell, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media. All right, we'll see you next week. Hey BG Squad, thanks so much for checking out our channel. And listen to this, we have more great content for you, like this video right here and this video right here. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to this channel right now and tap that notification bell.